Is this one of the black queens of England? She was Queen of America and Queen of England at the same time in her time. It's just that loads of people are now reporting that Charlotte, Queen Charlotte, had black blood in her. She had the Moor's blood in her. She had blood in her. Her grandmother was from Portugal, and they were from the Black Moors. Just thought it's very interesting. I quite like this picture up here of, where is it? I've lost it now. Let me just find it. There. Not seen our queen like that, but she was pretty damn good in that colour. And the strange thing is that her son, Victoria's son. Wait, oh my goodness, get it right. Queen Victoria's son was very dark skinned. I'll show you in a minute. But anyway, so yeah, Charlotte. We're going to look a bit about her today, and there's another one as well, a bit earlier in time, and also the fact that they don't really want to mention any black people being here until the 16th century, but we're going to have a look at that in a minute. Anyway, this person here, he is Edward the 7th. He's Queen Victoria's son. You can definitely see Prince Charles in this bit here, can't you, in the eyes? That is one of the pictures of him, but when I saw him, I just thought he looks very Indian-like. Which probably means that if it was coming from anywhere, it would be coming from his mum. It could be me, but it's just his colouring. Whenever you see him, he's just very dark-skinned. This is who I think is the Tsar of Russia. So he gets killed off as the Tsar, and he comes over to England, and then he rules as the King of England and George V. They are so alike. And what are they? So it was her nephew. So it was one of her sisters. They're cousins. They're cousins. The King of England and the Tsar of Russia, they're cousins. Crazy that we had the Tsar of Russia and the King of England, but you know, out of the same pool of people. But anyway, quite obviously shows you the power of that family. So like the Tsar of Russia. Anyway, we're going back to Charlotte. These pictures, they come into, you know, I'm into so many Tartaria groups, and I see all these pictures. But I mean, just look at that building. Just look how it's curving, and wow, look at that big bit stuck out the front with a little walkway to it. Like, obviously, what do people live in here? They obviously didn't. They like to use up every bit of space, didn't they? Anyway, on to the next one. Yeah, I don't think this one is real. Look at the size of these people, and then look at the size of that one. So these ones. So that I don't think is real. I don't know why people make these things up, but yeah, I mean, maybe this thing is real, but this is not. These are not real. But anyway, on to the next one. Thought that one was very interesting. I mean, look, the ice has come up over the bridge. Look at that, and frozen. The destroyed chain bridge. So what destroyed it? The ice and the snow? That's all it said, so I just copied it, but look. The size of that building. There's no way we'd be able to build these things. Come on. You have to have cranes and all sorts of things. Not carts and horses. Does that remind you of anything? Does that remind you of Building 7? That basically fell down. This is supposed to be in the San Francisco earthquake, but we know that's energy weapons or something else was going on there. Look. Amazing it's on fire up here. Anyway, I was a bit far there as well. But anyway, look, fire. Yeah, just turned into fire. Earthquakes cause fires, don't they? The buildings have to collapse first. And that one I found very interesting with the runway on top of it. You had to be pretty good at landing the plane. You could take off the top of a Zeppelin. Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? That, wow, look at that chandelier. Just look at that chandelier. Wow, 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 wow. Imagine what, well, not right now because we're in a pandemic, aren't we? But imagine what that would have been worth. Woo-hoo-hoo. Look at that, I think that's my last picture. Look at that. And now we're on to Charlotte. I just copied a few things off of... she was born into the aristocratic German family, had African ancestry, is partly based on how she looks in certain portraits. It has been claimed that she is descended from a mistress of the 13th century Portuguese king Alfonso III, who may have been a Moor from North Africa. Maybe. So there's nothing concrete, but they're saying that this lady was black or partly black. But I have a black, partly black friend. She looks white. She looks sort of like this. That was her in 1863. But she was born earlier than that. She was born in 1744. There's a bit of information there. She married George III of England in September 1761. And what was the reason I took... Oh, these are her children. George V. These are her children. And that's a picture of her, another picture of her. So, if you look up history, you'll see that they're saying that there is a bit of history missing. But they've been here. They were here then. So I'll just let you read this for yourself. They seem to be not slaves. They seem to have jobs and things. So they can't be slaves. Anyway, it's all to do with the Black Moor. Anyway, you can read a bit more of this if you want. It's History Extra. It's a magazine. Anyway, there's a bit there about Tudors. This one's from the Guardian newspaper. So amazing that they're following any of this. But it says, was this the first Black Queen? But I think there was one before her, which we'll have a look at afterwards. But yeah, there you go. Queen Charlotte. She noticed Mozart. It's because of her we had Mozart. By the way, just letting you know that. Anyway, you can stop the video and read a little bit about her. She died in 1818, so what was that? 44, 54, 64, 74, 84, 94, 104. She was in her 70s when she died. You can stop this and look at it at any time you want. It's too much for me to read. We'd be here for ages if I read all this. But if you want, you can stop it. And if you want to know where it is the Guardian newspaper. So you can just look that one up yourself. Was the first Black Queen, and you can read it for yourself. So the first one was this one. They wonder whether Philippa of whatever her name is was also England's Black Queens. But obviously there's just a few paintings of her. But so that's that one. And then we will go through, and here becomes Charlotte, who's in there. She had 15 children. 2 of them died when they were little, and but she still had 13 children. That's an awful lot of children, isn't it? 13. She had a mixed race face. They're saying that she was obviously one of the Moors, but just from Portuguese. She was a black Portuguese, her mother was. Anyway, that's what it says there. So there's a bit more information on her. Yeah. This was the first, must be this, no, this is the first one's son. Sorry, it's Philippa's son. I got a bit confused then, because obviously I've saved so much stuff. I was doing the 100-Year War. Someone told me to go and look up the 100-Year War. But then when I got to that, I thought, what I thought was, Queen Elizabeth I used to have a powdered white face. And I thought, oh, she wasn't a black woman, was she? Because obviously history's not what they've told us it is. Maybe that's why she had white all over her face, was because actually she was dark skinned and she'd made her skin light. Who knows why she had a white face. But anyway, this is the mother. So the first Philippa's son, this was Philippa's son, the Black Prince. Let's have a look at this quickly. Who was the first black king of it? Who is the first black king of England? This is what I mean. You go there and then you see more stuff. So his parents were Charles I and he was... That's what it says. Look, you can see. Who is the first black king of England? Charles II. Let's have a quick look at Charles II. I wasn't planning to go any further than what I'd already got. Who is the first black king of England? Wow. Well, he doesn't look very coloured, does he? But that's who they're saying.
Next May, everyone's eyes will be glued to the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. But not all will be happy. Meghan's biracial makeup is causing some people's blood to boil. But the truth is that the monarch's bloodline has been mixed for centuries. Dr. Stephanie Myers recently published a book called Invisible Queen, Mixed Ancestry Revealed. It details the life of the first black British royal, Sophia Charlotte, Queen of England. And we welcome Dr. Myers to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I was just showing off to our panel that I've had the book for a while now, and was so excited when the news came out, and to be able to get you on the show. So thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm not going to give away the details because we want to hear it from you, but tell us a little bit about Queen Charlotte, because she was fascinating.
Queen Charlotte was fascinating, and thank you for the invitation to be here today. She was born of a family over in Germany that was kind of a noble family. Her mom, of course, was mixed race, and when you look at pictures of her brother and her mom in our book, you can see that. And so when King George was ready to get married, his family decided we need to find someone special for him.
Yes.
And they literally recruited all through Europe to interview women to see who would be the right wife. And they came up with Charlotte. They had no idea, she'd never met George, and they sent out an emissary to meet with her family. So George, I think, was a little bit of a trick. You know, he had some girlfriends on the side, and the family wasn't liking him too much, and his mom, the Dowager Augusta, she's like, this isn't gonna work. So after they checked Charlotte out, she was educated, she'd been to school, she'd learned languages.
She spoke several languages, didn't she?
She spoke at least 4 languages, German, French, English, she learned later, and she was really a talented woman, a musician, and they looked and said, wow, this girl has it all. So they brought her to England, and she was married, and he had his coronation as king right within the same time period, and Charlotte became the queen.
And am I correct that she, although in Germany, was a descendant of a black Portuguese family?
Her mother was the descendant of a woman who was a concubine, as they say,
yes,
of one of the Portuguese kings. But we know that the Moors were big in Portugal.
Yes.
That's part of our black history.
Yes.
They use the word Moor, but what that really means is African black.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Negro, Moor, African
And they've
black.
got her picture up on the screen now. If you take a look at her hair, that's a dead giveaway. We've got a beautiful black woman.
Well, when I ran across her on the internet, totally by accident, and it said Queen of England for 57 years, I'm like, how could this possibly be?
It was never taught, at least in my school, it was never taught in history. I didn't even hear about Queen Charlotte at my beloved Howard University.
Yes.
Well, because I wasn't there yet.
Yeah, okay.
Because you would have heard about it. And really, that's my question, Dr. Myers, the political implications. People seem to think that black folks fought in the American Revolution for George Washington, but in fact, one of the reasons 13 colonies left was because Britain was talking about abolishing slavery and elevating Africans to citizenship in their colonies. Did Charlotte play a role in this? Charlotte of Mecklenburg. I mean, did she?
Charlotte absolutely did. She became very good friends with the leaders of the abolitionist movement. Granville Sharp was the biggest voice for abolition. And so even though she's queen and all this Atlantic slave trade is going on, Charlotte was part of the anti-saccharin movement, which was anti-sugar, because the whole sugar trade was a big part of the plantation. Our ancestors were enslaved to go work on these sugar plantations.
And particularly in the Caribbean, I mean everywhere, but particularly in the Caribbean where the Brits were involved with slavery.
Absolutely.
Sugar was king.
Sugar was king, so there's a cartoon of Charlotte in our book where she's sitting around the table with her kids and she's saying, no sugar, and her kids are all frowned up. And they ran this cartoon, and in that picture, she really looks black.
Yes.
There's
yes.
no question. And it was the anti-saccharin movement. So what they did is they brought pictures of Charlotte to the slaves on the plantations in Virginia, and they said, look, if King George is married to her,
wow,
he must be all right. Come join the British side and we'll take you to Canada and you'll be free. So there was this influx of about thousands of enslaved people who ran away.
30,000 in Virginia, Lord
yes.
Dunmore and all those cats. You got to come for a book signing.
Absolutely. I love this. Do you have a question?
Question: how is she remembered in the British monarchy? I mean, how is she comparative to some of the queens we know from this generation of Queen Elizabeth, of course? But how is she referred to?
That's why we call the book The Invisible Queen. They just overlook her. They talk about
Do they overlook her, or do they overlook the fact that she was black?
Well, that's
Or is it both?
It's the whole mixed race thing. In America, one drop of blood puts you in slavery.
Yes.
There were black nobility all through Europe, not just in England, but in other countries as well. So the British knew, then the courts, they would say, she's kind of got that mulatto face. Oh, she kind of looks kind of funny, her lips are thick and her nose. This is all written down, and we have that in here. And so they knew that there was this heritage. But in exchange for her talent and her skills, they just kind of went with it, and it was all right. But this woman, Queen Charlotte, and this is why I really grew to love her as I wrote this story, she was so talented. She was a botanist. Today we talk about having gardens and growing our herbs. Prince Charles today is curator of the Kew Gardens, which she really expanded and helped make happen. So she was really smart about that. She helped introduce the smallpox vaccine. She vaccinated all of her kids. She had 15 children. This woman had 15 children. Now, 2 of them died as infants, but the other 13 made it to adulthood. And one of the stories that really blew my mind, you ask how come we don't know about her, she discovered Mozart. Mozart was 8 years old, and his parents brought him to the castle, and he played for her. And she said, this is talent. She recognized the talent and became his patron. And
Black women are
Mozart.
not a joke.
Black girl magic, black woman magic.
Okay, black woman magic.
Patron, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Spencer, do you-
Right, real empire though.
Spencer, a question for Dr. Myers.
Yes, so we talk about Charlotte, North Carolina. If you could tell us a little bit about the connection to Charlotte, and then also what does this mean in terms of Harry? How is Charlotte related to Harry?
Okay, well, Charlotte, North Carolina is known as the Queen City, and that's Charlotte. Charlottesville, and there are places all over the world named for her. In New Zealand, there are places, in Canada.
Well, I'm
other
sorry,
parts of
but you just
America.
said something that like set off sound bells because I'm thinking about the Charlottesville rally
No question.
Yes.
and the
How
racists
about that?
down there with their tiki torches.
Right. But
Marching,
Violals is now in Charlotte.
but marching in her city.
That's right.
And they don't know their history.
Yes,
And
at all.
unfortunately, we don't know enough of our history.
You're right, Michelle. That's
And
the
we
first time
simply
I heard
have to get the story out. And it's so important for our young people to read our book and to read history and realize we're not new to the table.
Right.
Now, sure, we've had some wonderful success stories, and we're all proud of President Obama and the First Lady and what they've done, and now we're going to have this girl in the royal family. All of these things are important, but what's important also is someone can come from something very modest, go to school, learn, get sharp, and then push their way into power and influence,
And
that's
take over
exactly
the world.
what she did.
I am being told that we have to go to the break, but tell us quickly, how can people buy your book?
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a website, myerspublishing.com. www.myerspublishing.com is
Another
our
black
website.
woman who is the master of her own
That's
fate.
right.
myerspublishing.com. Thank you so much for joining us.